Hi everyone. This video is going to describe the labor-based grading contract system of grading we'll be using in WRIT 1120 this semester. I'm going to go through and talk a little bit about the motivation behind using labor-based grading contracts, the difference between grading contracts and grading systems you might be more familiar with, the requirements for earning specific grades in WRIT 1120, and a little bit about how you can be paying attention to your status in the class and where you can go to find out your current standing or grade in the class as well. So labor-based grading is a system of grading that relies on students' commitment to the work and the amount of work that they're completing in a class. So rather than each item of writing or each assignment receiving a specific value judgment grade. So for example, you turn in your research project and it earns a B, and you turn in your incident analysis and it earns an A. Rather than that system of grading, this system relies on students turning in work and then receiving feedback that is separate from or distinct from the actual grade. So I've included a quotation here from a composition scholar named Asao Inoue, who's written a couple books about labor-based grading to kind of describe this process in a different way. So each student's final course grade is determined, quote, purely by the labor students complete, not by any judgments of the quality of their writing. While the qualities of student writing is still at the center of the classroom and feedback, it has no bearing on the course grade, end quote. So, although there are requirements for earning specific grades in the course, those requirements are not based on how good of a writer you are or the specific assignments you're turning in. Instead, you'll receive feedback from me and assistance in revising your writing projects and becoming a stronger writer, but you won't be judged based on your ability as a writer. Instead, you'll be judged on how much work you've completed. And I'll describe a little bit more about what specifically that means for our course. So before we get to that though, I want to talk a little bit about why I've chosen to use labor-based grading instead of traditional grading systems. So my main goal by using this method is to value the hard and often really lengthy amount of work that student writers put into each piece of writing that they do. And it's also a way to promote equity in our course. So by using labor-based grading, we're allowing students the chance to take different risks, to dwell in the process of writing, and receive feedback without consequences that impact your grade or your GPA. Grades don't determine your value as a student, a writer, or a person. So our focus in this class can be on feedback and improvement rather than meeting arbitrary requirements. There are no grading rubrics. There are no specific things I'm looking for that makes a paper an A paper or a B paper or a C paper. Instead, I'm looking for ways that I can motivate you individually based on where you are in this moment and ways to move your writing forward. I'm not looking to make a judgment about how good of a writer you are or how good of a student you are. Instead, I want us to focus on getting into doing the hard work that is writing and really improving and learning from this class. And I think the best way to do that is to remove some of that value judgment out of what we do in this class. Some folks are concerned that by moving to labor-based grading, it's not as rigorous or it's not as challenging as traditional grading, and I don't think that that's the case. Grades are based on the amount of work and dedication that you're willing to put into the course and your writing, so it's still rigorous because you're still doing a great deal of work. As a result, the grades that you are earning in this class are still earned rather than given, and there is a more direct connection between the labor that you're putting in and the grading outcome. So if anything, it is more directly linked to the work and to the rigor of writing. So for our specific course, what does this look like? So as you might have noticed on the syllabus, possible course grades that you can earn in WRIT 1120 are an A, a B, a C, or an NC. That is a no credit. An NC will not be calculated into your GPA, and you would have the opportunity to retake this class in a subsequent semester with no penalty. You can also earn what's called an ATN, which is a failure due to attendance, which is earned by stopping participation in the class without going through the university's official class drop procedure. That grade, an ATN, would appear on your transcript, and it looks like an F when it's calculated into your GPA. I'll get into a little bit more specifics on how each of those grades can be earned and what that looks like for our course. So to earn a C, and that's the grade that I start with because it is the first passing grade that you could earn, you need to participate in the course by completing at least 10 out of our 16 discussion boards that are available. So there are 16 discussion boards that are posted. There's typically one a week, although there are a couple weeks where they're very short ones that there are 2. And as long as you complete 10 of those, you've met that requirement. There's also an expectation for everyone in the class to share and respond. That means working with your peers and me and being willing to share your writing, listen to your peers' writing, and give full and thoughtful responses. Essentially, this is you're trying, you're giving it your all and taking this course seriously. You also need to complete all major projects. So you need to turn in rough and polished drafts of all of those major projects, which includes the incident analysis, the research proposal and annotated bibliography, the researched project, the autoethnography, and the e-portfolio. And those need to demonstrate revision from the rough draft to the polished draft. So essentially that means you're taking feedback that you've received on early drafts, whether it's from me or peers, and you're implementing changes based on that feedback and then turning in a polished draft. As long as there's change that's happening and you're making your best effort to turn in completed drafts, you'll earn completes for those projects. It also asks that you revise. So as I just described, you need to demonstrate revision from your rough draft to your polished drafts in each of your major assignments. It's important to take feedback into consideration and make a plan for how you want to revise. The next possible grade you can earn is a B. And there are a couple changes between the C standards and the B standards that make it a slightly more challenging grade to earn. You notice that the first requirement, your participation, is to complete at least 12 of the 16 discussion boards. So you need to complete 2 more from the C-based requirements in order to earn a B. You still need to share and respond, and you still need to complete all of your major projects. An additional requirement to earn a B is also to complete at least 1 further revision of a polished draft of a major assignment. So that could mean after turning in your polished draft of your researched project, you revise it again. And there will be further information about what those revisions can look like elsewhere in our course. To earn an A, which is the highest grade you can earn in a class, you need to complete at least 14 of the 16 discussion boards, so 2 more from the B standards. Still share and respond, and still complete all your major project drafts. An additional requirement is to revise at least 2 further revisions of polished drafts of a major assignment. So you could turn in a revision of your incident analysis and a further revision of your researched project, both further revisions past those initial polished drafts. And again, you'll receive some more information about what those revisions can look like elsewhere in our course. Other grades that you can earn in this course include the NC or the F. And both of these grades are not passing grades, so it's my hope that no one would earn these grades, but I do need to describe to you what that would look like. Essentially, if you don't do the work in this course, you won't pass. If you don't complete those minimum C requirements, you'll earn either an NC or an ATN F grade. Keep in mind that if you're missing work or you have late work, you can't make it all up in the last week. This means you need to be paying attention to what you're missing and what you need to do to make up that missing work. So what happens if you do miss some work or some of your projects are late? Well, it's going to depend a little bit on a case-by-case basis. So in order to make up a missing draft, you need to contact me, and preferably you would do this as soon as possible. Makeups will differ depending on which draft it is you're missing, so is it a rough draft or a polished draft, and what kind of assignment it is. Possible tasks might include, but aren't limited to, conferencing with me, whether that's on the phone or via an online meeting, maybe writing a reflection or an additional draft of a project. It really will depend on what the assignment is, which is why you need to contact me to find out what we can do to make up the project. For participation, you can make up missing or late participation assignments, that is typically those discussion board assignments, by turning in one of the makeup discussion boards. And I'll create those based on need. So if I'm noticing that folks are typically missing 4 additional discussion boards, I might provide 4 makeups. It just depends on what kind of happens here during the course. So look for those typically after the halfway point. Those additional revisions that I mentioned, I'll go through very quickly here so that you have a basic idea of what it looks like. But again, look for more details on the revisions assignment sheet that's available in our Canvas site. So you will need to, if you want to earn a B or an A, turn in revision 1 and possibly a revision 2 if you want to earn an A. And those submission spaces are available in Canvas by going to the last week of classes module in the modules page. You can take multiple approaches to complete these revisions. You could revise a project in the same medium by making changes to the content, the style, the structure, organization, or development. So for example, if you turned in a researched project as a written paper, you could revise that into a written paper, just making changes based on the feedback you've received. You could instead revise a project in a different medium with attention to the ways that you can use the affordances or constraints of that new medium to change your project. So you could make a video, for example, or a podcast, or a series of memes. Just depends on what medium you think would work best with your project. You could also revise a project by preparing it for submission to WRIT, which is the Journal of First Year Writing through Bowling Green State University, or another publication that publishes writing from undergraduate students. And if you're looking to do that and are curious about other publications, contact me and I'm happy to find something that works for you. You can also revise a project by preparing it to submit to the University Writing Program's Writing Showcase. And there'll be more information about that to follow as the semester goes on. So what about these grades? How do you know what your standing is if you're not earning a specific grade that you can see in the gradebook? Since there's not percentages, it's a little harder to track. The main thing is to keep track of what assignments are due when, maintaining a calendar, a to-do list, or just checking in to make sure that anything that's on your to-do list in Canvas is completed is really the best method. Keep track of when assignments are due, when and how many discussion boards you've completed, and what makeups you might need to do. Also watch for the midterm grade reporting that comes out about halfway through the semester. I'll send out an email that notifies you when this is posted, and you're also welcome to email me at any time during the semester if you aren't sure how many projects you're missing or what your current standing is. I try to be as transparent as possible, and I'm always happy to look up your current standing for you if it's helpful.